for those of you who do know me well, you'll know me as someone who's environmentalist. So I always make sure that I'm taking every effort to reduce my carbon footprint, and I always encourage others to do the same. Now this presentation will be different to the usual eco-committee style presentations that we're used to hearing in full-time and other assemblies. Because instead of telling you facts about climate change, which you already know, I am instead going to focus on the real-life struggles that people face today due to climate change. Now there is a notion among those who deny climate change. They say that, well, if it was real, shouldn't we be extinct by now? And even for those who do think it is an issue, they think it's a very gradual change and that we won't be affected for another few hundred years. Well, by the end of this presentation, you'll find out why that couldn't be further from the truth.
Some people in the South Pacific could become the world's first climate change refugees because of rising sea levels. About 100,000 people live in the low-lying island nation of Kiribati. It's in the South Pacific.
The impending danger is the focus of the next CBSN On Assignment report. When Seth Doan traveled there, he learned the ocean is gradually overtaking the land.
The Kiribati have been here for centuries. 100,000 residents who occupy stretches of land as narrow as a basketball court. So narrow that waves from one side can roll straight on through to the other. Half of Kiribati's population is under the age of 25, and some scenarios show that within their lifetimes, their home islands could become uninhabitable, engulfed by the rising ocean.
It seems like paradise.
It is a paradise, but it is a paradise that we are losing. The beachfront.
Pelanese Alofa co-founded the first climate change NGO in the country.
The most disastrous thing in Kiribati right now is the rising of the sea. If you look around you now, you see sea walls. The tide just keep on coming and taking away our lands.
The sea walls back here didn't seem to work.
They don't work. It just continues to be destroyed. The sea wall is broken.
There was a seawall here,
Yes,
and now it's just flooded with water.
yes, flooded with water.
Where was your home?
My home right in the middle of the water.
Your home was there?
Yes.
Just been washed away?
Yes, washed away.
So you would have been walking through people's homes, right?
Yes, yes.
Who do you blame?
I know they're going to hate me.
That's okay.
America, United States.
You can see all of Seth Doan's report on the latest edition of CBS.
So you saw there about how climate change is affecting Pacific Island nations of Kiribati. But it's also the Maldives, which is an archipelago just south of India in the Indian Ocean, that is also at the forefront of this environmental battle. Now I'm going to tell you about a boy called Michel. I know him personally, he's a very good friend of mine, and he's lived in the Maldives his entire life. Now, for us, growing up is about going to school, doing our usual routines, getting on with life and finding our place in the world. But for people like Michel and his family, it's about actively fighting off the threat of climate change. His family is preparing to leave the Maldives for good, and that is because the entire country will be submerged under the ocean before the end of this century. Now there are different estimates as to when that will happen, but it is placed as early as 20 years, so that's well within our lifetime. Now climate change has already had a devastating impact in the Maldives. Due to its geography, the Maldives has a very limited freshwater sources. So water shortages before used to occur a few times a month, but overall it wasn't a big issue. But because of the rising temperatures, these sources have now dried up. So now water shortage is almost a daily occurrence. Second, climate change has affected the biodiversity in the Maldives, which has decreased over the years, and that's because of the destruction of habitats, because some of the islands have already been submerged under the ocean. And we can't go without mentioning natural disasters. Now, because the Maldives is situated in a warm climate, it was always susceptible to monsoons, cyclones, and etc. However, climate change has exacerbated this issue. Now, natural disasters occur more frequently and at a higher intensity, and that has damaged tourism, which has hurt the small economy of the Maldives, who relies a lot on tourism. This has caused lots of Maldivians to be out of work, which has had a knock-on effect for their families. Now, the Maldivian government has tried to implement ways to combat this issue. First, they tried, like in Kiribati, to put sea defences, but it didn't work. Then they tried to plant lots of trees, specifically mangrove trees, which directly source their water from the ocean. So if you were to plant lots of them on a large scale, then it would offset the sea level rise. However, despite all of this, it seems more and more likely that the Maldivian government will resort to a mass relocation of its entire population. And if that was to occur, it would be the first time in history that an entire sovereign state has had to evacuate its entire population. Imagine your homes, the places that you hold dear, your memories, the places that hold your memories, all being swept away by Mother Nature. Now, to us here in the UK, places like Kiribati and the Maldives are far away, exotic destinations. Many people in the UK think that we won't have to experience this at all because we're a developed nation, that somehow we'll deal with this. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is what the UK looks like now. And this is the future that awaits us, assuming that we don't do anything to decrease our emissions. If we miss the deadline that you hear so often of 11 years before climate change becomes irreversible, we won't be able to avoid that. It's interesting how Earth is the only habitable planet within reach that can naturally sustain life. We spend billions researching ways that we can travel to other planets, while spending trillions destroying our own. It is also worth noting that while it is the developed nations like the UK, USA, Australia and more on a per capita basis that are mostly responsible for climate change, it is the more smaller, developing, poorer nations, like the ones we saw here, that will have to bear the immediate consequences. And in fact, it's these developing nations who are leading by example. India broke records by planting 15 million trees in just one day. In many African nations who already experience issues like poverty, disease, civil war and corruption, have cracked down on the use of single-use plastics and fined people severely if they are found using them. Now here in the UK, we have taken steps to reduce our emissions, but what do? We complain when McDonald's replaces its plastic straws with paper straws. It shows that society prefers short-term comforts over long-term gain. Now more than ever, we need to look out towards our communities, we need to look out towards the rest of the world. We the people, along with corporations and governments, need to lead a collective effort for the sake of our home, our planet. We need to unite people from all walks of life, and that includes people of all ages, combining the energy and vitality of the younger generation with the knowledge and expertise that you can find in the old generation to lead this effort. In the 11 years left before climate change becomes irreversible, before we can't stop any of this, we're faced with a difficult challenge. It's not easy to solve this. However, failing cannot be an option. We, in our small window of time, have a chance of reformation to fix our mistakes. And if we are able to do that, we'll be remembered as a generation that saved the world. Now, as you guys make your way home tonight, I encourage you, if you haven't already, to think about ways in which you can make a difference, and ways that you can help reduce your carbon footprint. Even if you think that no matter what you do, it will only have a small impact, it still matters, because every small step towards saving the environment is a small step towards securing our future. Thank you for listening.